Until you have danced intimately with death in the way those of us who have repeatedly faced suicidal ideation head on, you can't really fathom the thought processes, the feelings, and utter lack of desperation that it entails, particularly as an adult. Depression and suicidality are not demons or signs of being not solid or not with it enough to meet somebody else's measure. They are merely a way of life for many of us. We are absolutely solid. We're largely healthy and normal, whatever that means. And when we decide to end this whole breathing life thing, we're following up on a plan that many of us have had in place for a while, some of us a long, long while. And we're not going to tell you about it, you or a therapist. We're just not. For me, it's been over a decade since I've last tasted metal and gun cleaner, though I've wanted to plenty of times since then. And on this particular day, I was done. Just fucking done. So done. Again, and I couldn't get to done another time. I wanted to first kill myself when I was 4. Then I was desperate. As a child, I was desperate. I was desperate to get away, to leave what I knew just wasn't right, to escape physical pain, to find some peace without fear, to be in a place where I was wanted, or at least a place where it was clear that I wasn't wanted, instead of this push-pull, oh, I love you, but I will also stomp your face in. I wanted to not be afraid of the person I wasn't supposed to be afraid of. I wanted to not feel abandoned by those who weren't supposed to do that too. There has never been that desperation as an adult. There was absolute and utter exhaustion, the kind that unless you know it, you can't understand it. The kind where you're just done. And for the longest time, I told no one beyond my favorite trees and rock who would have gracefully absorbed what I bled out. Blood, body bits, blessed beingness, and they'd have held them as long as necessary. But I didn't share it with a single human. I told no one because I'd tried in the far past and was punished for it, excoriated for it, and then ignored. And since then, I tried once again, back in the autumn of 2022, when I confided in another who promptly told me to hold the vibration of ease and grace, send the request for the right doors to open and for your path to be clear. Call on your favorite ascended master to help with cutting through the BS. All of that stuff that was the antithesis for me of working through deep emotional healing. It's a more eloquent way of, frankly, in my opinion, bypassing the pain that was roiling within. And I met her suggestion that you are powerful and can shift the energy, but you must remember who you are, with little queen emojis posted afterwards. I met that with a silent inner explosion of how dare you think I have forgotten who I am when you haven't the fucking foggiest. What I said in my note of explanation back to her was this. My response was unnecessarily curt, and I apologize for that. However, I felt intruded upon by unsolicited advice that came without any understanding of, nor offer to understand my situation. You had no way to know that your suggestion that I hold the vibration of ease and grace came while I was actively suicidal. However, you also didn't ask questions before telling me what to do. You are clearly well-meaning and coming from a loving place, but to me, in the moment, it came from a place of assumption and privilege that dismissed real pain, profound fear, and the inability for basic needs to be met. Your response to me is why I do not open to people. The assumption that I have somehow forgotten that I am the messenger, God's voice returned in the form of the mother, was inappropriate. I have known who I am for over 10 years, and I have lived with that mantle and its responsibilities with every breath. You don't know my prayers, my heart, my conversations with God, or the actuality of this journey in the moment or through the breadth of it. The judgment inherent in telling anyone that they need to do something like hold a vibration of anything or for anything other than what they are in, especially while in the midst of grave turmoil, causes more harm. It made me ferociously angry and emphasized the loneliness I experience. It cast further doubt on my capacity to have healthy relationships with other breathing people and created more distance than I have the energy to recover from. Now, granted, also some of this I didn't fully believe until this past April, but I also added, in the future for me or anyone else, the most important thing you can say is, how can I help? Or, in the absence of that, the most simple and most easily forgotten, I love you. And my response was met with this, quote, in my wildest thoughts, you being suicidal didn't exist. I thought very differently of you. Frankly, I'm rather dumbfounded. What was meant to be a prayer for you to have a higher level experience was lost. I'll not make that mistake again. Wishing you only the best. May God help you. And in that one moment, I was dismissed. Without the blessing or the real prayerfulness that is created in the space of loving kindness and compassion for the journey that is humanness. And that which is the holiness is expressed in each of us. So I've written several times over the course of the past 15 years about my awkward and undecidedly graceful dance with chronic suicidality. I'll post those below. But for me, it began when I was 4 years old. I've also written many times about my conversations with God, the awareness of who I was created to be. Like through these human experiences, to meet other humans where they are, in the thick of the messy, entirely unsterile, dirty world where all things spirit and humanity meet. Several years ago, I had a follower on Facebook, and in her frustration with me, she hollered, as one does in like the virtual typewritten world, like in all caps, "You are her." And at the time, I was not. Like, we don't get to choose when we become this thing. We are made by the maker in the maker's time, not ours. Certainly not at the convenience for others or ourselves. And we go through, or I'm going through, processes that I've never really gone through before. And this is meant to come through the full spectrum of human experience. However, the headiness of events around me, parts of my brain and body repeatedly have felt that in death, oddly, I would find safety and peace. And so back in 2022, I thought I was communicating with somebody who could lovingly respond. And it never dawned on me that in this age, that my struggling through a mental health episode, just like other humans, would lead someone to think less of me. Like, fuck, God helps me every day. We converse directly with some frequency. Those ascended masters that exist in the imaginations of others as fixers of life's bullshit are those who walk dogs with me, hold my head as energies break through bodily and I need to crack my head. They guide me through the underground places where others can't go, and they remind me of the blessings I have and the blessing I am. That does not change my nervous system's hardwiring or the trajectory that God and others have created for this iteration of the messenger. I've also never had someone call their prayer for me or anyone else a mistake. Well, like, hello? Especially because we didn't suddenly fit a convenient or comfortable narrative of the holy or their perception of us. The very nature of our being in each iteration has been outside the boundaries of what is comfortable for most others or offers an easy way to remain in complacency. It's a reminder that God, or any definition of holiness, is not ascended beyond where we are right now. It is, we are here, not elsewhere, not there, not is. There is no separation. And that we continue to divide ourselves away from all of these expressions of God, including someone's suicidal nature. Whether it be a woman or a girl, the brown ones who we idolize when they're dead, but remove from eyesight and foresight when they're alive, or the nature of nature as we continue to manipulate it and ourselves to save her. The desire then to kill myself dissipated, as it has many, many, many other times. It may or may not return again. Either way, it's not the full measure of me or anyone, but an aspect of how many, many of us experience the world. It does not diminish my relationships with God or gods, with devas, with the destitute, with ancestors, or anyone else. It does not remove me from my roles, identities, or realign my hearted way away from my heart. It makes me part of the human expression of all things holy, of all things hearted. It's a reminder that part of that human expression of all things created is our easy dismissal of uncomfortable aspects of humanness and holiness. Another iteration of me once said, if it exists in the presence of God. And I added later, all of creation exists as the expression of Creator's meaning. It is within that presence and meaning when we are each expressed and express ourselves and the Creator in the most loving ways. We can choose to do so without separating ourselves from each other, especially with those expectations how others should appear, or dismissing one because they don't fit the idealization of being that keeps us comfortable. And since that episode in 2022, I've told no one, because there isn't anyone who could hear me or see me. Like, there are those who see me as avatar and can't understand the humanness that actually is that. There are those who don't see me as avatar but can't see me otherwise at all beyond their perception and what they want to see. They want to see me fit their image of who and how I should be, whether it's just Ingrid or this other thing. And there's this belief that I shouldn't be in the state of wanting to die. Like, not just wanting to die as if like waiting for it, but willing to complete the act that makes it happen. So I've told no one. And others don't tell people because the responses to inappropriate responses are as life-sucking as a Luger round. I've told no one because be here, be now, come from someone else means let me see you how I want to see you. I told no one because we denigrate the cry for attention as if the desire for attention is just a thing, a mere thing without meaning or necessity, as if it's an egoic tantrum, selfish fluff requiring responsibility, being action or fucking inaction. We give very little credence every day to what meaningful attention to others actually means. I told no one because as much as we want our lives to be like others, we really don't. We can't even get there, even when we try to emulate bits of it. Whether that person is a neighbor, a celebrity, a guru, and as much as we like to think we can understand most things, we truly can't begin to grasp other things. There's no one that can understand the toll it takes to move through the universe in this fashion, except those who live within it that came before. And we talk to each other all the time. They're just not breathing. And I didn't tell anyone else breathing because I've watched those closest to me judge others. And then share that judgment with me as if the encounter, whatever it is, was proof of their righteousness, their rightness. Perhaps shocked by someone's lived experience into denial of possibilities for themselves, but still showing me or others that spot of our lives that we dare not share with them because we don't trust them or their definition of love or friend. I also told no one because if you won't hear or listen to me on a great day, you can't do it on a shit awful one. I told no one because false attachments are easier than real relationships and in the end have no meaning. I told no one because I wasn't afraid. I wasn't being beset by demons or darkness, and I was not unwhole or not solid enough. I was fully in me. I was fully in the shits. And I was thinking that I was just done. Because death has neither frightened me or interested me. It's just another part of living. It's as inevitable as drawing breath until that moment you don't. For me, there is not an attachment or an anticipation related to any particular outcome. I mean, I walk with and speak to those who no longer breathe every day. I know that there is nothing final about a body no longer being fueled by breath. So do others, and we don't live with demons or in the dark. It's just part of us, a part that you can't probably understand. It's always there. And sometimes, some days, we're just done. Some of us have this glorious capacity to take that knowing at every level and see into another's heart and bring them to tomorrow. I have danced this thing with death before. It's entirely possible I'll do it again. And also when someone makes their way to me and says, I just want to die, I can say, I know, let's just get you to tomorrow. I don't want to lecture here, but you can do the same thing. You can accept responsibility for another. You can knock on a neighbor's door and say, "Hi, I've lived next to you a long time, but I don't know you. I'd like to do that." You can volunteer for suicide hotlines or participate in NAMI. You can broaden your church's reach from ministering to outreach. You can give the homeless guy on the corner some cash without judging what he might do with it. You can mentor a child. You can read to others. You can hold a dying person's hand. You can listen, truly listen, with an open heart and not an expectation of how another should appear to be to you. You can act. You can engage openly and honestly. You can connect, communicate, relate. It may save your life as well as theirs. So I'm telling everyone these days about all of this because the queue for people wanting to die at their own hand gets longer every day. We must talk about these things if we're to truly take care of each other. We must talk about these things without the enticement of sales or hacks or easy answers. We must talk about these things using words, not emojis. We must talk about and listen to what it means to be human without subtly or not so subtly telling someone their humanness should be or would be different if only they did or believed what we see is right or as right. This is the only way we can get to the love that is necessary. This discussion is love in action. And we get there by telling stories and by listening to others. We get there by understanding some people have experienced physical and emotional pain and are waiting for more physical and emotional pain that we will never understand. Like, I don't know the exact episode it was that led me to the place of wanting to die when I was 4. That was only at the beginning of the abuse, but I knew that something was wrong. I knew the pain was wrong. I knew the place was wrong. I knew the people were wrong. I mean, I only knew what I knew when I was 4, when I knew it. I knew that others knew something was wrong because there's just some shit that you can't fucking miss. And I'm a kid and I'm flopping around in a sea of other people, but not being connected to any of them, much like today. And I was also being intentionally disconnected from the one person who I was supposed to be connected to. And that's a really strange realization to have as a kid, and then to have it carry through life, right? Now, knowing what I know about myself now and my mother, my abuser, I know the seed of not being wanted or feeling wanted was planted long before I popped into this world. And frankly, it didn't actually have much to do with me at all. Now, I didn't know this when I was getting beaten, but years later, my father described an episode where he walked downstairs into the basement and found my mother many, many months pregnant with me with a sharp, pointy object embedded in her arm. I don't remember exactly what he said it was these days, but in that moment, my mother didn't want to bring me into the world. And I won't ever know if she wanted to take herself out of it more than actually eliminate my possibility. But the energetic signature from her own lifetime, because she came by her shit righteously and her own survival was fucking miraculous. With all of that was rolling through her as she was preggers, set the whole stage of the beginning of my life. And so as a kid, I wanted out. I wanted each time I felt her. I wanted out each time I knew what was coming long before it came. Each time I checked out during a violent episode. Each time I tried to make it better and was ignored, or in my attempt to make it better, it wasn't. And each time I tried to make it worse, so she would just get it over with and kill me. Each time I couldn't help my brother. Each time I took it out on my brother in my own frustration. All of these things. I was going to talk about remembering the last time I tried to kill myself as a kid. I was a teen. I won't give you the whole thing, but I will say that when all was said and done, I was like, shit, I can't do that right. I can't do math right. What the hell? I'm going to kind of ad-lib a little bit here as the teleprompter goes through that story. I'm not skipping over it entirely because I know there are others who have had that precise experience. We're like, well, are you serious? And all things universal are like, yep, so serious. And we're left to quite literally question our life and death choices. I will move on to say that as an adult, wave after wave of what we call the dark has rolled through my world. I tried to study it away, to work it away, to drink it away, to watch it wither away. And that worked to a certain degree, but that desire to die would just come right on up. Especially when I exhausted the last reserves of energy, of hope, and love, she'd return. And I tasted my gun on more than one occasion. It's odd now, though, thinking about how, like, taking your own life with something that's actually meant to save it. Weird, true, but weird. And I never pulled the trigger while she was hot. I didn't. I did test it when it was unloaded, just to see, just to hear and feel what it was like if I really, and considered, if I could really do the ultimate deed. These days, I would not tell anyone again because I don't feel like anyone can be with me as I am when I'm glowing with God. Never mind when I'm wanting to die while glowing with God, because the latter doesn't go away, ever go away. And these days, I have a really clear understanding about why my mind and body respond in this very particular way. There's nothing wrong with me in the way that other people define it, right? I'm not flawed somehow morally or ethically or experientially. There is, however, a wrong way that a particular protein in my body responds to all stressors, every single stressor. Offering another strange tie to my mother in this protein and neuronal communications oopsies that stems from my mom's MS. Using scientific language here, SNPs interact with this FKBP5 gene, and any stressors affect other gene expressions in my nifty-difty little hypothalamus, where synaptic transmission, metabolism, and circadian entrainment pathways become dysregulated. Like it's a whole chain of oopsie daisies. There is not enough research, in my opinion, but where this FKBP5 gene of mine intersects with what researchers call the high induction risk allele, RS blah blah blah, rather than the resiliency associated CG allele, is a whole hot mess of congenital neurological disorders that look like psychiatric intervention is useful, and it's often not. So the core of all of this is a genetic whoopsie that leads to a central nervous system communications double triple whoopsies throughout the entire body that do everything from slow metabolism to make a person, in this case me, want to pull the escape hatch lever anytime we reach particular stress levels. Oddly enough, though, not novel ones, but that's a whole other thing. Like, y'all, I'm not going to kill myself. There's too much at stake, too much being asked of my being, and the curiosity of a future that I haven't seen yet. However, that doesn't mean I'm not going to feel the feelings again. Fuck me. And if I do, I won't tell anybody for all of the reasons I've already talked about. Suicide is this very interesting intersection of physicality, morality, and spirituality, which, when observed without attachment, are not actually connected. Suicide is deemed a sin by some spiritual rules of the game because of its effects on others. The deep grief and rage and fear and despair, and for many, lived outcomes that involve poverty, excommunication from family or chosen community, and much, much more. It's linked to greed and to pride and to envy and much, much more. Those that commit it are deemed selfish, not right in the head, incomplete, unbalanced, and unworthy of love, judged by and for all the same reasons we don't tell people what we're experiencing and how those experiences contradict what people think they see. What it is usually not linked to is the lack of love. We forget so easily our lives are not meant to please others, even those we love, nor are our deaths, by the way. We are meant to love. How dare someone do something that is unpleasing to me is not love. It's part of being human, for most folks anyway, but it's not love. There's not a person I've encountered who's died by suicide ever that's blamed anyone. They've stood in their own hearts and knowings and are aware there is grief in their physical stead, and even in their current state, they are feeling grief. However, there's also freedom that could not be experienced in their breathing lived state of being. Earlier this year, I had a conversation with someone who wanted to know why people who committed suicide were coming to her post physical death. And even with all of her mediumship training and all of her high-end, upper-level spiritual training, her response was, why would they come to me? I can't help them. And I couldn't help but think that if I had indeed killed myself in the past and arrived to her without a body, she would say, I can't help you. She was taken aback when I said, all you need to do is love them. That's the help. Love. Why deny love to anyone? We choose to forget how easy it is to love and that it's the only rule of the game worth a darn thing. Love. So you don't need to forgive someone for killing themselves. They've done nothing wrong. They've acted on what they know or knew when they knew it, and it's done with a deep sense of self-love, a seeking of release. Like displeasing anyone else isn't their intent. You also don't need to forgive yourself or dig into the, what did I do wrong? Why didn't I see this? It's because we don't show and tell that part of ourselves. You didn't love wrong. You didn't laugh wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. You just didn't understand because you have a different lens through which you see and experience. Bless us, we are complex beings. We are inarticulable even to our own selves a lot. And we hold quiet and close the most intimate things of our nature to ourselves because trust in anything other than our heart and God feels impossible. It's not that we don't love you. It's that we can't be held by you in all of our ingloriousness. And we know it. I've told very few people about what's next, but back in the day when I was doing healing work, I held space for a handful or two of people who wanted to die. None of those I worked with were a newcomer to wanting to die. For the most part, they were physically healthy. They were all in their 40s to 60s, and I didn't judge or try to convince them to do anything else. Certainly not anything else anyone else had told them to do in all of their years of dancing with death. I just said, I've got you. And the rule was that they just connect with me via breath and energy as they were preparing for whatever they thought was in store for them. And 2 a 1, none of them ever completed the act because Ingrid, until then, all this time, I've never felt loved. No matter how often I heard it, I never knew I mattered until I felt that thing, whatever it is that seems like it's what love is supposed to feel like. Jesus has said there's only love and the call to love. And how can you love if you're calling for it? It's hard to. If you are feeling suicidal, reach out. Please stay. We are less grand, less gorgeous, less glorious without you. With you here, you bring a little something that the rest of the cosmos needs. Oh, I know it's hard. I love you so deeply, it's inexplicable. Especially when you're in the shits, because you can't feel it. If you're suicidal, please stay. Reach out. We've got you. Y'all, this life journey thing, it's not easy. If you are suffering from the loss of a loved one who has taken their own life, please just love. Love on yourself. Love them without rage, without anger, without admonishment. Just love. No one's done anything wrong here. There's no sin. Just love, and love on your tender, hurting heart. Because this too is hard to carry. Find peace the best way you can. And remember,